Three. Well, hello to Philipp Mosimann, Managing Director of Mosimann's in London, a very famous place. As I told you earlier in our warm-up, I had the pleasure of meeting your dad. But what is Mosimann's for those few people who don't know what Mosimann's is?
It's a pleasure to be here, Nils. Thank you very much for the invitation. We started 30 years ago, private dining club in Belgravia. It's a former Presbyterian 200-year-old church.
Wow.
And then transformed not only the private dining club itself, but also started going out because for our members to do events with them, events locally in London, and this is spread out internationally, really, to go around to do Olympics, do expos as well. And we took on board also the Guards Polo Club that we've started doing for the last 3 seasons now.
Uh-huh. So I take it you are not in the kitchen, you're not in a restaurant, you are in home office in London somewhere?
I'm at the moment, yes. Well, actually a bit in between. We were actually doing a lot of work now in the kitchens as we have time. And the Guards Polo Club, actually, we are doing a delivery service at the moment to the local community.
So you're allowed to do deliveries, but restaurants themselves are closed, or?
That's right. So we are allowed to do deliveries. It's seen as part of the key essential workers, and that's something, that we'd like to continue, especially because it's a bit more out in the countryside. So people are not. It's not as easy for people actually just to walk down the high street necessarily, but they're actually very reliant on deliveries.
Yeah, down here in South Africa, unfortunately, as of today, restaurants are closed, delivery services are closed, everything. We're not allowed to leave home.
Wow.
The dogs are not allowed to be walked, so I have no idea how.
Oh, really? Wow.
But it's a bit tough. So how do you manage home office and the delivery service out of town and whatever? How do you get that all and keep it all going? And how do you keep the team going as well in these very difficult times?
Well, our team at Guards is actually locally based, so close to Windsor. So they're allowed to drive in and out of Windsor Great Park. That's not a problem daily. And then after that, start setting up delivery, and then they sort of do the milk run with all the deliveries. And it varies from literally ready, fresh made meals to if they wanted, more in advance, we can freeze it down for them as well. Blast chilled, yeah.
And in general, London and surrounds, what's the mood like at the moment? What is
It's a very good question. People are pretty much getting on with their daily lives. Of course, there's many restrictions in place, but people have adhered to the government advice that's been set down. We get daily briefings from the Prime Minister and his team every sort of late afternoon, 5 o'clock on the weekend, Saturday, Sundays as well. And I think people are very much, it's one feeling of community and being together actually, rather than just, having the iron fist and telling everybody what to do. There is, again, we're allowed to do exercise every day. At the moment, we're allowed to go out to the shops. We have to. I know. May it continue. May it continue. But so far, I think they'd like to continue that gentle amount of freedom. I think, as long as everybody adheres to what's been put down so far.
Yeah. Tell me. I mean, it obviously has a devastating effect on everybody's business and staff and to retain staff in industries beyond your own restaurant and catering business. What are you saying? How people beyond could maybe manage to hold on to those staff or to retain their loyalty, whatever it might be? Because when we come out of this, I think it's safe to say, as awful as it is, that we will lose quite a few businesses. So there will be a new start and so forth. How will one retain the staff? How will one manage to keep them interested in the industry as well? Because our industry, hotels and catering and whatever, is not an easy one to get staff and to maintain them and to keep them.
No, you're right. I mean, in the UK, we employ almost 2.9 million staff in the hospitality sector, which is obviously massive. I think fortunately government took amazingly very proactive steps with regards to doing their utmost to retain staff by setting out what they call the furlough staff. So it enables you to backdate it from the 1st of March, and each staff member in the hospitality sector is enabled to be paid up to 80% with a maximum of £2,500 of their salaries for the next 3 months, at least 3 months, 12 weeks. That's to be seen. But there is that cushion, and I have to say that was started last Friday, which was a huge, because I think everybody had a massive weight on their chest, especially thinking about what the next steps were. I seems to be following me, but I was actually based in Singapore during SARS in 2003. So been through it, yeah. And many hotels also closed down. Many hotels. We were one of the lucky few at that time with the Raffles International Group who kept the staff on board. But what we had done was actually throughout the government at that time, not knowing really how long or what was going to happen, and really it just came from Hong Kong, so there wasn't really a parallel with regards to what was going on. Couldn't support as fast, so we took the initiative to have a salary cut. Everybody had an extra day off a week, and then we created sort of more communities, but it was still very liberal. There wasn't any lockdown. So we took on board something similar immediately in order to just save as many of the jobs as possible. But of course, here now in Europe, because of the knock-on effect in every country going through it, it's a bit different. Many have already gone back to their original countries as well. And the hospitality sector, as you know, is extremely international. So we have retained those who have wanted to mention that they will want to come back in the summer period, retain their contracts, put them on furlough, and we're going to keep them, through newsletters now, actually. And actually, there's a lot of communication that's ongoing with our HR department.
I think if I can jump in there, sorry, but I'm always conscious of time.
Sorry.
Talking about news and newsletters, I mean, communication is key, but how do you manage to filter the news? Because I find it very difficult, and I was saying to a previous interviewee that we get bombarded with news, a lot of fake news, which is a great new word coined by somebody that we can all feel about how we do. But fake news is a reality. People are jumping on bandwagons and creating scare stories and whatever. And it's sometimes difficult, especially nowadays, in the current crisis we find ourselves in, to filter. What do you do personally? How do you say enough or not enough? Or it would interest me.
Would you, with regards to the current situation at the moment, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, with the social media and all that. I mean, do you filter it, or you just take it in, or do you block it? How do you deal with it?
I think with what's going on at the moment, to keep people, or at least information we're being updated with from the government, especially in this situation, I think it's pretty clear, it's pretty objective. Everybody seems to be seeing it as advice, and I think government's really put the lead in that in order to control what might be going on out there and what might not, so that they can really be the ones who are giving that advice, expert advice, we would say it. You see the way it's backed up from Prime Minister and his team of experts, you really feel like they are the gospel almost.
So you concentrate on what you get from government.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's a lot of very good radio discussions as well that's ongoing, very legally, factually based, and I think they're taking a very good, honest approach towards this, understanding where people are at the moment, but at the same time, just critical to making sure that it's the right advice.
Tell me the time after, because I think that's something which, in order to keep ourselves sane and make it through these lockdowns and restrictions and whatever, where do you see, or how do you see industry will change? Will there be changes, or will we be just carry on like we did pre-corona crisis?
That's a very good question. I hope we become a bit more humane somehow. I think it's funny when you look back at what's been going on. I think we've all lost a bit of touch with reality, humaneness especially. What we saw immediately coming out of SARS, we didn't yet at that time, 17 years ago, have as much social media, obviously, during that period. It was text and phone, and you saw a bit on the internet, but even internet wasn't really the way, it was just TV. There was a massive boom that came out of it super fast, and that almost tried to forget everything that we did. I think SARS was a bit more maybe of a Southeast Asian issue. This has become a global issue. I think through that, I hope, looking back at everything that we've done, that it brings us together. I really hope, and potentially looks at us maybe just slowing down a little bit more and understanding core values, esteemed human values as well.
Yeah, let's hope that happens. Philipp, I'm afraid we're running out of time. I wish we could carry on talking longer and longer. I think so much. I send kind regards to London. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Stay away from others, and we'll hopefully chat soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Look forward to touching you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.